Hello crafters, welcome to another edition of Terrific Tools Tuesday. I was trying to decide which tool I wanted to highlight today, and I had a couple I was kind of going back and forth on, and I decided on this one. This is the YourStory, and it's by Provo Craft. It's kind of a funny looking little gadget, but it does some pretty neat things. You can find them online quite frequently. I've seen over the last 2 or 3 months, you can find these for usually under $40. And I have to tell you, it's been a great investment for me. It's the original type of book binder that I got, but it does more than just bind books. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through it and what it does, and we're going to talk about it. Now, my original one came as part of a bundle. I purchased it, well, I actually got it off of eBay, but I've seen them at MemoryMiser.com. I think ohmycrafts.com has it. cricketmachine.com I think has them, and you just have to watch because quite a few people have been putting them on sale for about $39.95 lately. Mine came with the actual machine, and of course, like everything, it comes with a guide that tells you how to use it, which I have kept handy because I use it and I love it, but I don't use it often enough that I still have to look at the instructions every time just to refresh my memory. Not only is it a book binding system, but it also is a heat laminator. So it came with these laminating sheets. These are about, I don't know, 8.5 by 11 or so, probably a little bit bigger than that. So if you wanted to put an 8.5 by 11 sheet in it, and then it came with several of these smaller ones, about 4 by 6 or so. So it came with that. It also came with some actual books. This is a 12 by 12 book. I don't know how well you can see that. And it's a blank book, and you could make your own photo album with it. It also came with some 8.5 by 11 books. I believe it may have even come with some 5 by 7 books. I can't remember. So all in all, it was a pretty good package. The other thing that it came with, and that I used the most out of the whole packet, is this paper cutter. This is a rotary paper cutter. It's kind of hard to see here. I'll kind of move it up. And I have to tell you, it's not my first go-to paper cutter because it's a little bit bulky, it's a little bit heavy, and it doesn't have a free arm like my Fisker's paper cutter where I can take out the side and open it all up so that I can measure accurately. But this is a heavy duty paper cutter, and I really like it. When I'm cutting chipboard, I can cut a piece of chipboard with this with no problem, and it's so nice because I don't have to worry about trying to get out my scissors and cut lines. It came with a few different blades. It came with your normal blade that's in there. It came with some like a serrated blade, came with a scoring blade, I guess, and a wavy blade, and then another straight blade. If I was looking for an improvement on the paper cutter, it would have a free arm on it that would maybe come out the top here like the Fisker's paper cutter, so that I could measure out this way, because this will only measure up to about 7 inches right here. So, you know, because I work a lot with 12 by 12 paper, I would like that. The other problem that I found is I still have not figured out exactly where to get the refill blades, the new blades to replace them. So when I get that figured out, I can let you know that. But I've been using mine for months, and it's still sharp and works really well. So, you know, I don't know what blade will interchange with it, but as of yet, I've not been able to find a new blade. But it's a great paper cutter, and I do use it quite frequently. Now, I have also, I forgot to grab something. The thing that I found with the book is I wanted to make my own books. I didn't want to be tied to the hardbound books. Now, you can go to just about any craft store. I know Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Robert's Crafts. I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure about Joann's, but they carry this system. So you can buy these books in several different sizes. YourStory has also come out with a YourStory photo that only binds books up to 5 by 7. and then they have lots of inserts with that. So far, the only place I've really seen that is on Cricut.com and on HSN, and it's actually very inexpensive too. But when I was looking for, when I first got the book, I had seen someone do a project with a YourStory photo on YouTube, and I really wanted to be able to do projects like that. So I didn't want to use the hardbound books. I wanted to be able to use my own paper and make a book. So I had to find some kind of a glue. It is a heat binding system, and YourStory does make these glue strips. Again, these are a little bit more difficult to come by, but not impossible. I actually purchased mine from MemoryMiser.com. Comes with 6 12-inch glue strips, and usually when I'm purchasing them, I stock up on them. They're usually only a couple, $2 or $3, and then you just cut them to fit the size that you need, and then you can turn your own paper into books. It's great. The other thing about that I discovered is then I was limited. You know, you have to score a little bit to put the glue channels in, and then you also then want to have enough room for your book. So it was great for making like little memo pads, and I will post a picture with the video of a memo pad that I made that turned out really cute. But I wanted something a little bit bigger, so that's where, when I bought the 12 by 24 inch photo pads, this is one of the books that I've made with my YourStory, and I think this is about 7 inches by 7 inches or something like that, 6.5, just enough bigger than 12 by 12 that a 12 by 12 sheet wasn't big enough to wrap all the way around. So so I bought the 12 by 24 inch paper, and I just save it for projects like this, like my Mommy Quotes book. So let me show you really quickly how to use this and some of the things that I've done. I've also seen on YouTube, some people have mentioned that you can take your hot glue gun and fill your channel with hot glue and let it harden, and then put your pages in and bind it. I haven't tried that yet. It seems like it would work. It's not something I've tried yet, but I probably will eventually. So let's just look and play with it and see how it works. Now, the first thing is we're going to turn it on. I've got it plugged in. Now, we're going to bind. So you push the bind button, and then you let it heat, and it will blink or beep at you when it's ready. So in the meantime, this is a project that I'm working on that I had started and hadn't finished. I was making memo pads. This is a shopping list. I had one, a to-do list, a shopping list, and a menu one. And I just took Nana's Kitchen stack, and I cut out some paper. This one's about, I don't know, maybe 4.5 inches wide, and the total length on it is about 10.5. I had it left over from a project. I was just using up some of my scraps, and I cut then a smaller piece on the inside so the back would be shown, and then on the outside I had this coffee paper. So then my husband is the computer person in our family, so he made some shopping lists for me, and I cut them all up, and then I took my little glue strip and I put that in the channel here. And so while that's heating up, we're going to set this up. The initial time to heat it up is about 5 minutes typically. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hook this here. Now I know that on here you'll see that I've covered up my words, and that's no problem, because this is kind of something different than binding a normal book. Normally you would have a book coming all over here, and I want to be able, I need to have enough that I can get a hold of my paper and it won't slip. And then what I'll do is I'll just go back and trim that flap to the size that I want it to be when I'm done. Then I'm going to take a couple binder clips and put it on the bottom of my pages. And those pages were not cut very straight. But again, this isn't a perfect project. This is a useful project for me to use all the time. Actually, this one's one I was making for someone else. But the reason I'm using the binding clips is because, especially with how small this is, this will just help keep it straight and in the channel. So I'm just going to bind it here with the binding clips. Oh, and it's ready. That didn't take 5 minutes. So now it's ready to bind. So I'm just going to move my YourStory up. I'm going to slip this straight down. There's little grooves here, and I'm just going to hold pressure, and I'm going to hit the bind button again. Now this is blinking at me. It takes about 30 seconds to a minute, and it will be done binding. And what it's doing is it's heating up that glue in the channel, and the glue's melting into the strips of the paper. Now, because I'm not binding a book and it's not, I wanted to leave plenty of width on the top of it so that it doesn't get caught on the channel when I try to bring it out, which is the other reason I left some extra width. So we will just let that finish. And then what you're supposed to do with it is when it's all done, there's a channel in the back that you will see, and you're supposed to let the book or whatever you're binding sit for about 5 minutes so that then that glue can reharden, and it will reharden around all of the papers, and it will form a little memo pad. And then I'll just put a magnet strip on the back, and there's a nice little memo pad for somebody to hang on their refrigerator. So the other thing that this machine does is laminates. Now, I have not used that feature. Usually if I want to laminate something, I just use my normal Xyron machine, because my 12-inch Xyron laminates, and it's really simple to use. So, and I don't do a lot of laminating, but we're going to try it together today for the first time. So this is just going to sit here. Now, this is really hot. When I'm pushing on it here, I can really feel that heat with my fingers. So I'm going to just set that behind and just let it sit in the channel that sits behind there, and it will sit. Now, often what I will do is I will let it cool for several minutes. And that's a very important step in this process, because if you don't let it cool and start working with it quickly, then what will happen is your book will just fall apart. It won't get that bond that it needs. So cooling is a very important part of this process. And I can already see by looking at it that the pages there I missed some. I had more pages than what I should have. So some of the first pages will actually come out, which isn't a big deal. I was just trying to fill it up. So to use this, like I said, this is the first time I've used the laminating feature of the book, of the YourStory. So we're going to do it together, and we're going to learn and see what happens. So now, instead of binding, I'm going to hit the laminate button. And that, I'm just going to move this out, even though it's not been the 5 minutes. I'll set it aside and let it cool back here. We will close up the channel here. So I have my laminating sheet, and what it tells me to do in the directions is to center the item that I'm laminating right on the center. Now, obviously, this is not something I would want to do this small all the time. If I was going to do this to make bookmarks normally, and actually I have a project coming up where I'm going to be making bookmarks that I was planning on using my other laminator for, maybe I'll just go ahead and use this one. But if I was going to do this for normal use, I would obviously fill this up so that I'm not wasting lamination. But for this project, we're just going to leave it on. So again, I'm waiting for it to beep to tell me that it's ready. And so I've lined that up here in the middle. And we'll just give it a minute to... Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn it off, because I don't know about switching the idea in the middle. I don't know how well the machine will tolerate that. But it shouldn't take that long to heat, because theoretically the machine is heated. So I will be right back, and we'll finish up this project. So I turned off the video for about 1 minute. That's about how long it took for my machine to beep and tell me that it was ready. So now the heat, instead of focusing in this channel, it will focus in here. There's a little shelf-like protrusion at the front of the YourStory. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the laminating pouch. There is a seam on one end, and it says to feed it into the slot gently, and then it just catches it. Look at that go. It just catches it, and it's pulling it through. And as it pulls it through, it will come out the back side, and my page will be laminated. So let's just see. Boy, it doesn't take very long at all. It said in the instructions, it said it takes about 1 minute to do this. Now, it looks The laminating sheet to me looks very milky. I don't know if that, it looks like as it's coming out the back that it's much, it comes out fairly clear. And it's just about done. Okay, so this is really very much as if you took it down to the professional laminators and laminated it. I also notice when I'm doing that, it also, like the professional laminators, you have to be kind of careful or you get wrinkles in it. I honestly am not as likely to get wrinkles in my Xyron when I use it, but it still is a nice, this is a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger bond than my Xyron. So I can see I could use quite a few applications to do this, but now what I want to do with it is I just want to take, let's go ahead and just use the YourStory paper cutter here, and we'll just line it up. Now, one thing it did say that you needed to do is you need to leave at least 1/8 of an inch around your the edge of your project to create a bond. That is also something that's a little bit different from the Xyron, because the Xyron is not a heat application, it's a sticker type application. You don't have to leave that edge, but if you've ever been a teacher or done any professional lamination where you needed something laminated, you took it down to the teaching supply store or wherever to get it laminated, you know that you always had to leave that, and that's because the plastic, the laminating plastic, does not bond to its to other items. It bonds and heats to itself. So that is a little bit different, but it's still a great application. And honestly, if you were looking for one single machine and didn't think you would use a Xyron much, this is a good option for you, because you don't have to use heat. I mean, you can use the heat application and then still have a bookbinder. So it's really a great 2-in-1 machine. And I'll just run some ribbon through the top of that, and I have a little bookmark here. So, and I'm a reader, so I'll read it a lot. So there's that project that I made with that. So it's a great tool. I use it mostly. I've made lots of books, and I will show just a fun little notepad book. You can find this on the blog, the instructions on how I made this little book, and what the thinking behind it is, and what a great little book that is. And then we also have my little memo book. Now, to finish that off, all I will simply do is pull off the binding clips. Now, I had too many sheets in there. Oh, maybe I didn't. I thought I did, but apparently they all adhered. So now what I would do is, I think I'll take some design scissors, which, you know, back in the day when scrapbooking was first getting started and kind of at its heyday, we used these for everything. Now I rarely use them for anything, but this is a great application for it. And I'll just line these up and almost to the end. And I think of all the times I use those, I'm just amazed. So now I have a little shopping pad here ready to go. All I have to do is put a magnet on the back, and I have my shopping list, and the kids, when they need something, can just add it to the list, and we're ready to go. So those are just a few of the things you can do with it. Again, I use it mostly for making books. I make a lot of books with it. So it's a great investment. It's a great tool. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.